started to fall, and where were you? How could I know you were falling too? Grabbing the wind, cutting my skin, but it's hard because I'm falling. Tell me why I'm falling. Oh, life's calling, but it's hard because I'm falling, falling.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. I think this is episode 5. I hope it's episode 5. But I'm here joined with an amazing human being and one of the best GMs to ever do it. I'm here with Dan. How you doing, buddy?
Doing all right, Squirrel. Woke up about half an hour ago. So still trying to wake up, but I'm looking forward to doing this podcast with you.
Yeah, that's my fault on that one because me leaving town, we have to record this one a little bit early, but it is what it is. Um, I probably should have also moved VCs before recording this one, but if anyone joins, we'll have a special guest briefly, so that'll be exciting. As you can see, everyone, it's just me and Dan today, recording this one early on a Friday, so everyone's at work, but that's okay. So keep in mind, SNRL games have not been played when we talk about this. That is a big deal. But let's get right on into it. Dan, what's the first thing you want to talk about?
I wanted to talk about this previous week and how important all these games were
Mhm.
for everybody. Divisional games are very important, especially when it comes to head-to-head and possibly getting one of those top 4 seeds. So you have to keep in mind that everything and every game was important, even if it was a sweep, no matter what it is, because everybody in your division plays twice. Very crucial games.
Yep. The division matchups didn't go great for my org uh, this week. So, and I stressed to him, I was like, look, dude, you play them twice, so regain and bounce back better uh, than they did. But what were some standout division matches for you?
Well, heading to we'll start with Titan because Titan's always last. Personally, I think the big series up in Titan was Krakens and Blizzard. Um, it was, believe it or not, it was a sweep on the Kraken side of things. I thought Blizzard was going to put up a better fight, but we were talking about last week how there was the top 3 teams of Bananas, Krakens, and Blizzard up there fighting in all divisional games, which we have Krakens and Bananas playing on Monday. We were talking about how crucial those games were and how they play each other twice.
Mhm.
And I really thought that was a standout game. Even though it was a sweep, it shows how strong the Kraken's roster really is. And we'll possibly get in later how the Krakens could possibly go 18-0. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, those were big matches for me as well. To me, that's the most exciting division in Titan League right now. Having 3 very solid teams, and then Kraken's getting the sweep, and then Bananas losing 3-2 to Blizzard in what was probably the most unfortunate 3-2 I've ever seen. Like, first off, we win with Valence, and then Doodle subs himself in, and I said, Doodle, why would you do that if they just won? But they get stomped with Doodle in, and then one tap Steph shows up, which is our top player, subs in for Doodle, they win, and then they go to game 5 where it goes all the way to overtime. I think like Mad Max DCs and then Zen like scores a double tap in overtime. So we lost a 2v3 in overtime to Blizzard. Uh, so I mean, shout out to them for being able to pull that off. But uh, Bananas Krakens, you might see this weird little thing where like this team beats that team beats this team, but then this team beats the first team, which
Sucks.
I hate when that happens. It always makes things really confusing. But uh, that's definitely like some of the most important matches in Titan League right now. But then you also have Spartans who are on an absolute tear, which shout out to them, doing really solid.
Absolutely. Spartans, I don't think people actually believed at first that they would actually be a decent and or top heavy team, which they have proven to be one of those teams to beat right now.
Mhm.
Especially with their record. What's their record again?
I think they've
Uh,
only lost one game this season.
Spartans 5-1.
Yep.
Yeah. So they're currently leading their division with Diversion, Dragons, and Gravity. Not so much a heavy division, to say the least, but they're definitely going above and beyond what people thought they were doing.
Yep.
But I also wanted to talk about how Pinnacle they lost against the Phoenix team in a 5-game fashion. Pinnacle, I don't think they won a game this week. No, they lost against Nebula as well, which
Yep.
I thought personally Pinnacle was going to be one of those top teams with Bananas, Krakens, Blizzard. I don't know what happened to the Pinnacle team this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a different amount of pressure when it comes to these division games, and there's a like, you take the record books and you kind of throw them out the window because everyone is gonna try super hard these weeks because they're the most important games. And Pinnacle just, didn't show up this week, but Nebula is one of those other teams that I think is really good right now. Um, and I think like Nebula they're in that conversation for like top 5 for Titan League for sure.
Yeah, I can definitely see Nebula being one of those top 5 teams. But we're gonna change gears a little bit, Squirrel, and head down to your league, well, former league rival. I'm gonna ask you first, since I guess you're technically, the native of the league. What do you think some standout games were this week?
My favorite game of the week was Kings versus Vortex because Vortex made all these roster moves and then they get beat by Ray Ray and Chrissy, and then their entire team like mauled. Cram leaves the league. It was hilarious, and now they have a brand new roster, so we'll see how that roster does. But that was a good one for me. And then one that was surprising was Knights. Knights lost both games on stream, Monday and Wednesday. Granted, they were playing Hydra and Distortion, so it was really difficult, but I expected them to at least take one of those. Um, Galaxy not doing too hot in the regular season or their division, and then uh, Pineapples winning both of their division games was huge. I think Chimeras might have even won a game this past week. I can double check that, but that was
They
a big
did.
pickup for them as well.
Yeah, they beat my whiteout team. But I have to agree with you on the Knights on not losing 2 games this week. Yeah, they had to face 2 top hitters in the rival league. I feel like rival personally. There's top teams like top 5. There's mid teams, and then there's bottom feeders.
Hmm.
They're not even close. They're very distinct. Not like some leagues, which is kind of weird because you don't really see that often. Usually there's a lot of like top hitters, then there's bottom, but you kind of see a very big division of who's on where, and it's kind of obvious.
Hmm. And I just checked the reporting channel. Chimeras have won both their division games, so that's going to put Pineapples and Chimeras as I think on Monday. That's the last division game, and that'll put both undefeated division teams against each other. So that'll be pretty exciting.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a match to watch, but another match to watch for the rival league on Monday coming up. I guess we're gonna just jump to it now. Hydra and Distortion.
Hmm.
I heard they're trying to get a stream slot 8:45, so we'll see if that comes to tuition. But that's going to be a match to watch, and I definitely want to see that in action.
That's probably my most anticipated matchup of the rival league so far, just because, you know, early season undefeated teams aren't that great, but when you get to like, match 6, 7, 8, the undefeated nature means a little more. So when you have two teams in the same division that have made it this far, uh, it'll be something to watch.
Because there can only be, realistically, out of the whole league, one undefeated team, because everybody plays each other at least once.
Yep.
So, who's the better of the teams, and who will show up? And that's what it's going to come down to. Anything can happen.
Yeah. And it's gonna be close. Like each player or each team has room for a tier min, but Distortion has room for a tier min +3, so they're within like 3 MMR of each other, which is crazy.
I heard Distortion was going to pick up a guy that was on the free agent list. I forget his name. Uh, I forget I don't know how to pronounce his name. District?
It's
It's not
either
Dexter.
it's either Drezik or Dexter. Those are their only two options. Drizik's on
Yeah,
hold for a little bit, but Dexter, Dexter was a pineapple for a long time, and he's a great guy. I love him to death, so wouldn't be a bad pickup.
well, that was very interesting talk about the rival league, and I'm gonna bounce it back to the Challenger League. We're just gonna keep going down the list here.
Mhm.
So, Squirrel, give me some games that you actually thought were very interesting to see this week.
Uh, Griffins beating Flame. That was probably my biggest surprise, my biggest upset. Um, because after Flame beat Papayas, I was like, okay, Flame just gonna steamroll the division. But the loss to Griffins is a big shock. Snowstorm beating Papayas was a great win for Snowstorm. Papayas going 0-2 in division games that first week. Not great. Ascension losing to Raptors. I know Ascension is out without Rockerman, but Raptors a solid looking team. Um, but that definitely hurts Ascension. Um, those were really my standout games for for the Challenger League. But there's definitely some good ones coming up on Monday.
Yeah, Monday, as we were talking about, as divisional games are still happening. Monday's the last day of everybody's playing each other, the round robin for the first time around. And personally, for the Challenger League, while I'm just looking at the standings here right now, you have the East and West. I think the East has a lot better overall teams right now. So as I'm looking at it, there's three teams that are underneath 500. If you don't know what 500 means, just means that you're even on the wins and loss column. So you have three teams underneath the 500 mark in the East, and then if you look in the West, you have, for example, Dissolve 2-4, the Samurai that are 0-6, Assassins that are 2-3 right now. They still have to play, and Venom that's 2-4.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I do think the East is better this season for Challenger. Granted, we only have a small sample size of 6 games, so definitely look forward to see more of the Eastern side of conference play. My
And
opinion.
can we talk about how Venom actually 3-1 the Hellcats? That was definitely a surprise to me.
Venom's just one of those teams that you can't get rid of.
Hmm.
2 seasons ago in season 5, oh, don't worry, we'll just come through the play-in bracket and win the whole thing. Then last season, they won it again, back to back. Venom always finds a way, no matter who's on the roster. And I feel like this might be even a hot take. Look out for them this season because they always find a way.
Yeah, and getting that was a solid win against Hellcats in the division. Um, and they lost 3-2 to Bishops, and I think that's setting up a pretty solid Bishops versus Hellcats match on I think Monday. I think that's when that one's taking place.
Yeah, I think it is Hellcats. Let me just take a look at my sheet real quick. Hellcats. Yeah, they do play Monday. Yeah, correct. So
Hmm.
that's going to be a very interesting game. I think Bishops are a little bit underrated this season as well. Just because, no offense to you, Bubbly. I know you're listening, probably. Nobody, at least me, nobody's like, oh yeah, it's a chess hall. We're so worried. I feel like they're underrated. And people don't give them enough credit.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that one. So do you want to throw it on over to the Prospect League, where this is the league that Dan hopefully will soon to be running?
Yeah, hopefully I plan to come back and actually play for Flurry. Unfortunately, 1-5, sad times, but hopefully turn it around. But in the Prospect League, honestly, I think it's one of the deadest leagues right now per se. Not to say that there's no action involved, but out of the 5 leagues that we are currently going through, it just seems like there's nothing really looked forward to. The Minotaurs I know are pretty decent. I don't know why my notes aren't popping up. Uh, do you mind taking over scroll for a second? Can't find my
Sure.
sheet.
Minotaurs looking solid. Um, Let me just hop on over here. Wyvern's looking good at 4-2. Melons are on the up and up at 4-2. Minotaurs 4-2. That's gonna like next week on Monday, setting up a great matchup between Melons and Minotaurs, both of them being 4-2. Blackhawks are good. Hypernova on the up and up. Origin is slipping a little bit. Bandits sitting at 6-0. Definitely solid there, being in the same conference as the Rooks at 4-2. A lot of great, um, a lot of great outcomes. A big win this past week was Wyverns over Velocity. Um, the top two teams in that division. Wyverns taking that one. Vipers had an unfortunate FF. Hypernova wins it in 5. Melons wins it in 5 over Flurry. Gladiators actually beating Wyverns. So Gladiators, the bottom of the division, ends up beating the top of the division. So another exciting matchup there. But all in all, I think the Prospect League, I agree with you, Dan. It's been pretty quiet.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's a bunch of upsets that are actually occurring right now, and they're just kind of going on their merry way. You could even say that the below novice right now, not necessarily in rank, but just like I guess action, if you want to put it that way. I'm not even exactly sure how you would actually want to say that, but a game that I was actually looking at, I don't know if you mentioned or not, the Bandits and Rooks.
Mhm.
Rooks, I also feel like the Bishops, one of the underrated teams. Nobody really expected the Rooks to do what they can. And if you look at the Rooks, they have 159 cap space, and they're doing what they're doing. I
Mhm.
give them props. I'm just very shocked to see them. Unfortunately, they lost in Game 5 against the Bandits, which are a top team in prospect. But that goes to show how the Rooks are not playing around this season.
Yeah, I know Kenji got Player of the Week last week for the Prospect League, and he's doing a great job over there with the Rooks. And for him to take Bandits to 5, that's pretty impressive. Warhawks is a team that um, I think should be doing better, but with the new addition of Glaze, I think you made that trade happen. With the new addition of Glaze, I think Warhawks might be on the up and up as Glaze is a solid player.
Yeah, trade that had to be done. Unfortunately, had to get rid of Glaze and Dukes also. That fit me, but also, 1-5 is not the best start you want to go to.
Y'all,
But looking,
y'all heard that podcast to fit Dan. Dan gonna the Dan plan. He's coming back and he's winning it.
oh, I can wish. I'm not thinking I'm gonna go undefeated, but our goal is plans at least.
Hmm.
Especially starting off 1-5 and me hopping on the roster. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm not all that. I hope the best though. We'll figure out something. Me and Magic. But going on the next week, we're just looking at some games here. We have Blackhawks Hypernova. We also have Melons and Minotaurs.
Hmm.
Rooks and Warhawks should be a good one as well. And then Velocity should beat Gladiators pretty well. But you don't know. Gladiators might be on a hot streak. And I heard Speed tell me last night, insider info, he's looking to get Parallax.
Really? That
So
would
by the time this comes out, he might already have him. But as of right now, Friday, he does not have him
well,
yet.
if he doesn't have him, he better pick him up fast. But I think it's funny that Gladiators go and beat Wyverns, but then they lose 3-0 to Faded. Um, but maybe they just need a little motivation. But they do have a lot of cap room to work with. So if he wanted to make a move, now's the time to do it to really turn that season around.
Absolutely, you got to do it now or never. Because there's a point in the season to where it's too late to turn back.
Hmm.
There's only 18 games, and we're already a quarter of the way through the season. 12 games to go. You have the drop trade deadline and all that stuff still to come. But what I always look at, if you want to make play-ins, at least you have to be 9-9. So maybe even 8-10.
Yep.
But don't think you'll get it anything less than that.
Hmm.
It's my opinion on that.
Yeah. Well, you want to hop on over to Novice League now?
Sure, the best league there is, the Nemesis that I can offer. Novice.
Novice one.
Novice. Novice. Well, if we take a look at some games here this week,
Hmm.
I thought the Pawns and Vandals game was very good. At
Yep.
least what the series was. 3-2 in the Pawns' favor. Pawns, they have a really strong roster with Malo. But on the other side of things with the Vandals, people always expect the Vandals to be decent, especially how Sands runs things down in Novice League. They always have like somewhat of a solid roster. So that's also something to actually look forward to, as the Vandals are 3-3 right now and the Pawns are 5-1, which is kind of surprising. That was one of my standout games that I actually looked at this week. Another game was the Whelps and Acceleration one, also to 5. Whelps are doing surprisingly well. One of those undefeated teams, as leverage is starting to hit them more and more. As the more the season goes on, the more undefeated you are, the more people actually like to worry about you. So those are two of the games that I thought personally from Novice were pretty good.
Yeah. If I had to pick just two, those would be the two that I pick as well. But some other games that I thought were really interesting. Um, the Crows losing to Genesis 3-1. And then the Crows losing to Wisp 3-2. The Crows were one of those teams that, especially after they picked up Angel, so Isaac Chad, Angel, and backup, I thought that team was going to be uh, much better in their division than what they have been. But the Wisp game was wild. So I'll tell the story real quick. But I get I read support on game day as a manager does, and I see that there's a problem in the novice league, and I think Crows made the lobby, and they had the password, or they had the username is 123, and the password is 321. So a random like non-Nemesis person joins the game and starts playing, making it a 4v3 with like 20, or it was 47 seconds left. And they were talking in support like, is it a full game reset? What happens? And I was like, boys, I'll fix it. Don't worry. So I made a lobby with a good password. We joined. Uh, I think Crows scored twice, and then Wisp waited until there was 47 seconds left on the clock. They scored, and then they played it out from there. Crows took that game, but Wisp ended up taking the series. So a lot of scuff things happening there, but it was exciting. Frost beating Kiwis was huge for Frost. Ninjas and Whelps playing on SNRL. That's gonna be a good one. Whelps on the up and up, like absolutely demolishing in the novice league right now. So that's gonna be one to look forward to. As well as any games that happen next week, gonna be super important as well. But that's pretty much it from novice league from my point of view.
Yeah, Novice is kind of. I feel like it's more competitive right now than Prospect, as we said earlier. At least I said earlier, personally. Uh, there's definitely some surprise teams, as always, in Novice, because you don't really know necessarily what you're getting most of the time in Novice, because there are a bunch of new players possibly joining the league,
Hmm.
but also there's some people that have been in Novice for seasons and seasons and seasons that are hard stuck. So you know what you're getting sometimes, but realistically, when people are drafting, they have no idea. They just pick by name, and then for the free agent list as well. But Novice League always surprisingly good for the most part. Not necessarily skill wise, but competitive wise. And some novice moments always happen.
Hmm.
That's always fun.
Yeah, and now let's see. Uh, you wanna? Yeah, I can throw the standings on stream for everyone if you want to talk about those real quick.
Sure thing. We actually talked about some standings earlier. We're gonna start here with the novice league. We're just gonna work our way back up a little bit here. Right now, as we can see, we have all divisional leaders at the top have at least 5 wins right now, except for the Frost in the top right. That is clearly, in my opinion, the weakest division at this time. The East in general, I feel like, is weaker than the West for this novice league here. Whelps 5-0, looking to get their 6th win on Saturday Night Rocket League against the Ninjas. And then if we look down here with the Pawns, they're currently leading their division 5-1, and everybody else in that division is 3-3, which isn't bad for going through divisional games as well.
Yeah. I I think you hit the nail on the head there. I expect Whelps to be 6-0 after they play Ninjas on SNRL. Pawns, they're set to go 6-1 after their division games. Probably 7-1. Yeah, 6-1. So yeah, probably 7-1 after next week is over. Aurora dominating their division. You know, I don't think people understand just how important it is to win your division because you know, let's just take Vandals, for example. Vandals could be better than Frost, but because Vandals are second in their division and Frost is first in their division, Frost will be a top 4 team going into playoffs. Vandals will be that 5th or 6th spot. Um, and some of these other teams that may be really good will be relegated to the play-in tournament.
Yeah, 5 and 6 seed as well when
Mm-hmm.
you include that. So divisional games are always important, especially when it comes down to head to head. Because let's just say that you beat. Okay, we'll use an example. We're the Vandals, and we beat Pawns twice, and we have the same record by the end of the season. You get the tiebreaker because you won the head to head. It's important to get those top seeds and possibly not even fall to the play-in tournament,
Mm-hmm.
as you said.
And now prospect standings, we've got Wyverns leading their division at 4-2. Melons also at 4-2. Blackhawks at 4-2. Melons versus Minotaurs will determine who leads that division for a top 4 spot. Then you got Bandits at 6-0, clearly standing above the rest. Just absolutely dominating with an 18-7 game record. And um, you know, even if they were to lose next week, they'd still probably be the number 1 seed. Um, Melons Minotaurs, they're battling for top 4 versus
Divisional.
5th and
Yeah.
6th. So uh, that's exciting. Hypernova and Banshees right there on the Blackhawks' tail. Anything could happen in the Central Division, and then in the Pacific West, Velocity really the only team battling for that spot versus over the Wyverns.
Kind of something I just noticed about that division. It goes 4-3-2-1 in the win column, and then in the loss column it goes 2-3-4-5.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of cool.
Yeah.
Something weird to look at. But I definitely think that the strongest division right now is the Mountain Division,
Mm-hmm.
with the Bandits and also the Rooks involved. None of the teams are underneath 3-3, 3-3 Vipers, 3-3 Warhawks. Everything can change though. We're still early in the season, so teams are kind of still together just a little bit. But you're definitely starting to see some standout teams start to push away.
Yeah. Like you could take Vipers and Warhawks and throw them into Central or Pacific or maybe even the Atlantic Conference division, and you know, 3-3 there, they might actually be division leaders, and if they were in a different division, but the Mountain Division is tough right now. So when some of your losses come from the Bandits and the Rooks, those are going to add up, especially when you play them twice this season. So it's unfortunate that they got put there, but hey, someone has to.
Yeah, I know the feeling to be in a hard division. It sucks,
Hmm.
but it feels very good if you win it. It feels like it proves to people that you are one of those dominant teams, and you should be scared of us.
Absolutely. Now you want to head on over to Challenger standings?
Sure. We have no undefeated teams anymore, sadly. But we look at the East first here. We have Flame Papayas, Snowstorm Griffins. You have Snowstorm Griffins, 2-4. I know Snowstorm beat Griffins, but surprisingly, Griffins swept Flame. So you have one of those circles of like, I beat you, you beat me. Um, so that's gonna be very interesting to watch because nobody's necessarily out of it yet. 2 games, and the Snowstorm Griffins, like I said, if Snowstorm beats Flame, and if Griffins beat Papayas, um, that's gonna be one of those circles because the bottom teams would have the head-to-head, but they're down by a game,
Hmm.
so it's kind of weird, but also it makes it more competitive. Down in the Central, we have the Raptors, which, my opinion, I didn't think they were gonna do this good. 5-1, very very good. Right behind them, they have Wraiths and Senshin, which they're just a game behind. I'm not too familiar right now. I guess I could look realistically if I wanted to, but I'm too lazy to see the head-to-head portion of all that. So very good on that portion of it. The East, my opinion, more stronger than the West right now. If we go look at the Mountain Division, we have Hellcats, number one seed right now, I believe, tied with the Raptors. I don't think they played yet. Together there. Bishops 3-2. They play on Saturday night against the Assassins here that are 2-3. So Assassins win, they'll bounce up past the Bishops to get the head-to-head. Then you have Venom, which is 2-4. Unfortunate, but they always find a way somehow. Then you have the Pacific Division. You have Drakes that are leading the division 3-3. We've talked about this in the past on how, depends on your division, can determine what seed you are. And 3-3 currently leads it. Kind of weird. It sometimes sucks because you have the same record and you're across the conference. Why can't I be over there? But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely the weakest division in my opinion over there in the Pacific.
Yeah, it feels bad when you're like Wraiths or Ascension or Bishops who haven't played their sixth game yet, but you look at those teams and you're like, oh, they're guaranteed play. One of those teams is guaranteed playoffs with an even record, and I'm over here at 4-2, and I might make the playoffs as fifth and sixth, but I also might go to the play-ins. You know, it's very possible that one of those Wraiths or Ascension or Papaya's team falls to the play-ins when they have a better record than Drake's in motion right now. So um, that's it's unfortunate, but you know part of the interest of this is like you get lucky and draw the crappy division and you get to just kind of farm it.
Yeah, it's two. I forget the saying. Two
Double-edged sword.
sided. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have a weak division and you're the strongest team in there, you play them twice. But coin the other side of the sword. If you're in a good division, you have to play them twice.
hmm
So kind of
Uh,
look at the draw there a little bit.
yeah, and now we're hopping on over to the rival league where we actually still have three undefeated teams, which is insane. Two of them being in the same division, in my opinion, the best division, the Western Pacific Division. Distortion 6-0, Hydra 6-0, Knights 3-3. Another team that you know could be really good, but just kind of had a really bad last 2 weeks. Lightspeed sitting at 1-5, not really doing a whole lot over there. Pineapples 6-0, Chimeras 5-1. That's going to be a really good game to watch out for on Monday. Whiteout and Blaze sitting at 3-3. Whiteout, pretty solid team. They did take Pineapples to 5. Um, then you got Gravelords leading their division at 3-3. And to me, Dan, this is the weakest division in in the rival league so far. Gravelords, Arrival, Thunderbirds, and Galaxy. I'm pretty sure my hot take last podcast was that Gravelords were going to win the division, which it's certainly possible. I'm sitting at 3-3. Um, I think. Wait, Arrival is the other Arrival game in yet?
Uh, not that I know of.
Arrival beat Thunderbirds, so I think one of those should be 1-5, and the other should be 3-3. I
Hmm.
could be wrong.
Well, let's take a quick look here.
Our little sheet might not be updated, but we'll get it updated for you.
Let's take a look here. Arrival. Yeah, they did win. 31. There you go.
Yep, there you go. Okay, so now Arrival leading the division at 3-3 over Gravelords. That makes a little more sense. I was a little confused there, but um, y'all, the stream you'll see the fixed one, so you might be confused as to what we're talking about, but that'll be okay. And then Kings leading their division, Ray Ray Beast,
God.
trying to secure that top four spot. Vortex, Malding, Bearcats, 0-6, sets Mafiosos and Kings up for a pretty nice second round of divisions play, especially if Vortex and Bearcats continue to struggle. Then that's two more free wins for Kings and Mafiosos coming down the line. But really excited for that Distortion and Hydra matchup, that battle for the number one spot in the division and possibly overall.
I just can't believe how some of these divisions are actually starting to play out right now. anything can happen. One roster move can change your whole season.
Mm-hmm.
And so you were talking about how the strongest division was with Distortion Hydra Knights, and then you said the weakest was in the Central with the rival Gravelords Thunderbirds. I would have to say the weakest is the Mountain division right now,
Okay.
because because the Vortex team kind of molded, so they're an unproven team right now. I don't think they've played yet because they've molded out of the league because of big old 700-pound Ray Ray. Um, that's definitely something to look at. But I feel like realistically, you can't tell who's better, the West or the East right now because of the West having, in my opinion, the hardest division and the weakest division. In the East, you have the second and third place as evenly distributed. So it's kind of a toss up right now for all that. But if you want, we can jump over to Titan, Mr. Squirrel.
Absolutely. You want to take it or you want me to take it?
You can take it.
All right. So Titan League. You've got the Spartans sitting at 5-1 division leaders, uh, over 2-4 Diversion, 1-5 Dragons, 1-5 Gravity. A very weak division right there. Then you got, in my opinion, the strongest division, the Eastern Atlantic. Krakens 6-0, Bananas 5-1, Blizzards 4-2, and then Inferno bringing up the rear at 2-1 or 2-4. Um, that division just is stacked right now with Krakens, Bananas, and Blizzard. Really excited for the Bananas Krakens game. Should be a solid one. But then you got Nebula leading their division at 4-2. Pinnacle is right behind them at 3-3. Vanguard at 5-1. Grandmasters 4-2. Venganza and Godfathers bringing up the rear at 2-4 and 1-5 respectfully. And I think in Titan League, Dan, it's pretty obvious. Like, here's your top, and then there's like a gap, and it's like here's everyone else. Um,
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. Um, Definitely the Atlantic Division here in the East,
mhm,
by far the strongest division. Um, Not necessarily to the fact of the record shows everything. You can say that about all the leagues, not even just this one. So if you're cracking 6-0, yeah, you're proven. Good job. You're probably the top dog right now in all of Titan. But then if you look at, let's just say, Blizzard. All right, cool. Let's just say down the road you're 6-4. Okay. Does that necessarily prove to people that you're a 6-4 team? Does your record show that you're that strong? No, it comes down to your division. And also you have to keep in mind that sometimes a team plays another team, but your team personally hasn't played them yet, and it could be a different outcome. So that's schedule is also very important when you look at standings, especially this early in the season. But you always have to take it with a grain of salt.
absolutely, and that's um, have you ever seen Moneyball, Dan?
I have.
You know that saying where it's like, here's these guys, and then there's 50 feet of crap, and here's us. That's
Yeah.
that's what I picture Titan League to be like. It's like here's the top teams, then there's like the mid teams, and there's like 50 feet of crap, and then there's these teams that are like 1-5, just barely hanging on, and there's three of them sitting there at 1-5, four of them actually, Dragons at 1-5 as well. So, uh, I think it's gonna be a battle between the 1-5 teams to make the play-ins at this point, as there's only a slim chance of them making the playoffs. But um, they're fighting to not be eliminated, and they've got to make something happen, or else it's going to be a quick season for them.
Yeah, I definitely see that there's like a top six in
Mm-hmm.
Evolve Titan. There's not, there's no discussion about it. There is a top six.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, the 50 feet of crap. You got everybody else that's probably going to get thrown into the play-ins. So, realistically, do you think a play-in team will make it past all these big, huge Titan teams? I
Mm-mm.
don't think so, personally, at least this season. I could be wrong. Hot take it here, whatever. I don't think a play-in team will come close to beating because they'll get the 7th seed and then 8th seed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so right now they would play the Krakens, then they'll play their Vanguard or Spartans.
Yeah.
Do you think a team like I don't know. Let's throw it out here. Diversion will beat them.
Nah,
Yeah,
not at all. Like I think these top teams in Titan League are just too consistent right now, for them to lose games like that.
yeah, absolutely. And we're gonna switch over to a different segment as we have questions of the week here. Squirrel, would you like to read one of the first questions that we have for today?
Well, first I want to say thank you for everyone that submitted a question. If we don't pick your question, that does not mean we won't use it in a future podcast episode. But we like to answer like 2 or 3 questions from the community as our last segment. And the first, I forgot which two we agreed to do, but the one I want to do is what is the most underrated team in each league? I think that was a great question, and let me figure out who that one was submitted by. Um,
Isaac.
Isaac. Yeah. Isaac, thank you for your question. Most underrated team in each league. For me, based on power rankings, I would put Spartans in the Titan League for underrated. I think Spartans have had a lot of good wins, and they've only lost without their main roster. So I think they're a little underrated. Um, for for rival league, I would have to say Whiteout. You know, taking Pineapples to 5. I think they ended up losing in a reverse sweep, but I think they're very underrated and they're much better than people like to give them credit for. Challenger League, Snowstorm made some roster moves. We weren't quite sure how that was going to go. So I think Snowstorm was underrated, but I think after this past week, I think they're going to be higher up and more rated appropriately. Prospect League, um, see, I think Prospect League is pretty fair where everyone's rated. You know, you got Bandits up top, you got Rooks over here, you got Melons over here. So I think Prospect League is pretty fair. But if I had to pick one, I think uh, I think Blackhawks might be that sleeper team for Prospect League, and then Novice League. Wisp have had a few good showings. They might be a little criminally underrated, but when you compare them to like the Whelps, Pawns, teams like that, it's going to be hard for them to have a standout showing. But I'm going to go with Wisp for that one.
Oh well, that was very intriguing to hear, Squirrel, and definitely some underrated teams there. Personally, for me, I'm gonna start up here in the Titan League. Just looking at it, I don't hear a lot of people talking about the Grandmasters as much as I thought. People I know, they know Goff, Bobbly, Bagels, and then Game 5, Chubik. They're known names, but I think people realistically thought it's like a meme team and just like friends wanting to play with each other. I think they're underrated. They lost, I know, against Blizzard. I don't know their other loss by top of my head, but they're a very strong team, and I don't hear very much about them. They might even be a part of the conversation for top 6. I think they're missing out maybe 7, 8 right now, but I definitely think they possibly could compete if Bagels isn't drunk that I heard. Um, for the rival league here, uh, I don't necessarily see an underrated team for the most part. I mean, I guess you could say Kings.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're 4-2. They have Ray Ray, so people always think, oh, I'm a crap on Ray Ray and everything. But I think he's starting to prove himself in the league and say, hey, I actually want to compete. I don't want to be just a meme at this point. I want to be competitive, and he's starting to show it on the Kings roster here.
Hmm.
And I definitely think they're one of the sleeper teams in rival. Yes, they're 4-2, but they're definitely more underrated than people give them credit for. For Challenger, a sleeper team that I think that people should watch out for is the Griffins. They made some roster changes. I know they got Riot now, and they just swept Flame. So definitely a team to look out for there. In the Prospect League, I kind of agree with you also about teams being even for the most part of what they have. But if I did have to pick one as well, I think it's the Vipers.
Hmm.
They had a strong start, and then they kind of fell off a cliff a little bit. And I've heard that they were molding this past week. about a forfeit loss or something on the lines of that. So definitely a team that you gotta look out for, even though they're 3-3. That Victory Org, man, they always seem to find a way. I just never get it. And then for the Novice League, I'm gonna have to go with the Wisps as well. Um, they definitely have a strong roster. They just have to put it together. And Wisps necessarily don't have a good background of going 0-18 and everything else, but I still think they're underrated at 2-4.
Yeah, that's those are all very very solid, very valid opinions there, and I think there's a case for a lot of teams that could be underrated, as it just takes a few good games and then boom, you're back up there. But you want to read us the second question, Mr. Dan?
For the second question that we have is, who has had the most disappointing, start to the season?
Yep, and that was
So,
from Mr. Sanzabar.
yeah, I thought that was a very, very good question to ask about disappointing starts. Would you like to start with Novice or Titan, Squirrel?
Well, I wasn't gonna go through all of them. I was just gonna pick like a few from the leagues that to me had disappointing starts. Um, and
Fine.
I think my biggest one was Galaxy out of the rival league. You go from winning it and keeping Owe, who is one of the most mechanical players in rival league, and you start off, not winning a game. So I think Galaxy to me is the big team that has had a very disappointing start, and then you know Snowstorm. Uh, they I think they had Raggy and Mango at the start of the season, and they were struggling. Oh, and Khan. Can't forget about Khan. Three like really solid players that should have won every game, and then they didn't, and that was a very disappointing start in my opinion as well.
Yeah, that hit my heart a little bit there about Snowstorm.
Hmm.
A couple teams that I thought had a disappointing start here are the Bearcats. They have Kaysen on their team. I know they had Quick Snail and Pharaoh. 0-6 though. Ooh, I know they made a roster change before they went 0-6, but they were like 0-4, maybe even 0-5. I did not expect them to go 0 for, especially with Kaysen on the roster. At least get a win or two.
Hmm.
Kaysen, I know he's MVP. He was with me last season on Snowstorm as the 1 seed. I just couldn't believe that that happened. I thought that was a very, very disappointing start for them as the Bearcats as well. And then another team that I was looking at for, I guess you can call this a little biased, Flurry. They have Magic, Glaze, and Dukes. I really thought they were at least going to go at least 3-3 for the first 6 games. Not the case. So we had to remake the roster a little bit, and here I come in possibly, but definitely a disappointing start for Flurry, in my opinion.
Hmm. And then another team I want to throw in there for disappointing starts would be Origin. Um, Origin's historically one of the you know better teams in the prospect league, and now they're sitting at 2-4, the bottom of their division. Not the start Rockerman wanted for sure out of his prospect team, but I think they could pull it around.
Yeah, I know they're trying to. I said earlier that Parallax might get traded to Speed in the War Room org, so we will see how that happens. I know they're gonna have some cap space to work with if they make a bunch of roster changes. I know currently they have 3 people on the roster, so they can pick up anybody and their mother in free agent list right now. They have like 50-52 cap space. You can pick up anybody. That's huge. And if you're gonna trade Parallax away too, you'd have a little bit more to work with.
Hmm. I agree. And then our last question of the day comes from Jimmy. It says best looking players in every league. Uh, I don't know if he means like performance wise or appearance wise, but I like it based on appearance wise. And I don't know what a lot of these players look like, so I'm just going to give you some of my most handsome players in Nemesis. And I've got Dan, I've got C Money, I've got Speed Demon, I've got Jaegers, and then rounding off the top five, we'll go with Magic Pepperoni as my top five most handsome gamers in Nemesis League.
Magic has nice hair.
He does. The flow is rough.
Flows.
Hmm.
Yeah. I like Psycho. I like the beard.
Yep.
It's very puffy.
Psycho looks like he could show up to a rave and pull any of the girls there.
Where? That's so funny. Just to like say, hey, Psycho, and he just walks and turns around and you just see the big beard,
Hmm.
and then he just starts commentating out of nowhere. Great. He's very good looking. I think the beard very standout. Who else has a good beard in Nemesis? I feel like I'm forgetting somebody.
Speed used to, and then he lost the beard versus beard game.
Oh,
He threw that series.
that's very disappointing. But didn't they both shave though?
They did. They ended up getting some donations, and Psycho, being a good sport, shaved as well.
That's cool. Um, who else is good looking? I don't know. I'm just trying to brainstorm top of my head here. I already said Psycho. Magic's up there as well. He has nice flow hair. Jaeger's like you said. Don't forget about Big Mur
Oh yeah,
and
Merely.
bagels.
Bagels and Merely, like they clean up very nice. Especially when Merely wears his little suit. Like it's impressive.
I don't know. I think I have to give it the bagels though. Cleans up very well.
Hmm. Yeah,
Very nice.
Bagels. L- Living it big up in Cali. Him and Merely both actually, and they definitely play the part of like of a good looking Cali gentleman.
Don't forget about you, the flying squirrel himself.
Oh, thanks, man.
No problem.
So
But, I think that's it for good-looking players, in my opinion. I mean, we don't see a lot of you, so it's
yeah,
kind of hard to do. But
throw pictures of yourself in Hub so that we can have a better idea on who the best looking gentleman in Nemesis is. Maybe we can do like a bracket and let people vote on who the most handsome person in
have your
Nemesis is.
name,
Yeah,
have your name, and then a picture next to you.
yeah, there we go. But I think that's gonna wrap it up for this episode. Ended up going just under an hour, so somehow with two people we still made it longer than the last one. Don't ask me how, but uh, Dan, thank you for being with me. Do you have any final thoughts before we close?
Looking forward to the next podcast, guys. Also, check out our social medias: YouTube, Twitch.
Hmm.
Please make sure to help and support Twitter, Instagram, everything. We really appreciate it, and keep asking questions. I like to do this with Squirrel. Squirrel likes to do the podcast with me, and then whoever else we have. We really appreciate you that you guys actually come and listen to what we have to say. May not be 100% right, may be wrong, maybe you have your different opinions, but let us know. Seriously, we like to have opinions. It's like power rankings team. Everybody's like, no, don't rank this team here, rank this team here. I love discussion. That's what the league's all about. It's all about fun.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dan. You've been great. You're always fantastic. Thank you for everyone that's going to watch this. Remember, this was recorded before SNRL, so if anything changes, we apologize. I am leaving, so couldn't record it on Sunday like we normally do. But thank y'all. Make sure y'all tune into the stream games this upcoming week, as on Monday we do have our last round of division games, and then on Wednesday we get back to either some conference or some out of conference matchups. But either way, a lot to look forward to as we are getting closer and closer to the All Star games, and maybe next week on the podcast we could talk about future All Stars. So uh, thank you for joining us. We will be seeing you.